leaving your own home, leaving everything behind, going to start a new life in a country where you don't even know the language, the cultures, all those kind of things are the hardest parts.
That was Saeed Issa back in 2019, a former refugee now living and working in Utah, talking about the difficulties of acclimating to life in a new country. Welcome to our In Focus discussion tonight on World Refugee Week. Utah is home to more than 65,000 refugees from more than 20 different countries. And these are people who left their native countries due to political conflict, warfare, ethnic cleansing, regime change, forced displacement, violent threats, and more. They all have incredible stories of rebuilding their lives in Utah and giving back to the place that they now call home. Starting off our conversation tonight is Tennyson George, an IT professional and student in tech classes at the Utah Refugee Center. Tennyson, thank you so much for being here tonight. We'd like to start with you and your family story. So you were born in Sierra Leone. At your own comfort level, could you share why your family had to leave and come to the United States? What was that journey like?
Yes, we were displaced over here because of a civil war that was happening in our country, and after 10 years of the civil war and living in a refugee camp, we were displaced over here, and we came over to Utah as a refugee. And the journey so far for us has been a bumpy road up and down, but so far we have found a place in Utah, and we have found a place that we can call home.
That's amazing. Do you remember that? I am guessing that you were pretty young at the time. Do you remember making that journey with your family over to the United States?
Yes, I couldn't really remember much, but I did see a few things that was happening. Really couldn't understand what was happening much, but I did know there was a war and we were coming over here, and just happy to be here.
Now, Tennyson, you and I kind of share a similar story. My parents are refugees of the Vietnam War, and they stayed in refugee camps and also made their way over to the U.S., except I was born here. And so you and I kind of have a similar backstory. I'm wondering, did your family face any challenges, difficulties, or barriers while trying to rebuild your life here in the United States? And if so, how did you overcome that?
Yes, just like many other refugees, when they're coming over to a new country that they don't understand, we face. When our family came over here, we also faced the same barriers. I mean, I was thrown into elementary school in 6th grade, and my brothers were thrown into high school. We were forced to learn the languages. We faced bullying. Also, my mother, coming to this country, never spoke the language, of course, so she was challenged to learn the language pretty fast, and also be able to provide for us. So those were some of the challenges that we faced coming over here. But we also seek strength and leadership within the refugee communities. They were very instrumental in helping us settle into our new homes.
That's incredible. And English is a hard language, and I only know that because I taught ESL for several years, and I remember my students asking me all these questions like, why is this word like this? And it's just the exception to the language. So I commend you and your family for overcoming that challenge after coming here to the U.S. What are some of the opportunities or achievements that you've had since coming to the U.S.?
Yes, I've been very fortunate enough to be here in this great state of Utah, where I've been very privileged to get a full ride scholarship over to the University of Utah, where I graduated in a major in biology. And at first I was looking into going into the medical field, but you know, life takes its twists and turns here and there, and I ended up within the IT field right now. And the Refugee Center was very instrumental in actually helping me find a new career path.
Tennyson, don't feel bad about that, because when I went to the University of Utah, I was pre-med and then pre-law, and that didn't work out, and now I'm here in journalism. So don't feel bad. I can share that experience with you. So what are you doing now for work, and what can you share about your passion in this career field?
Yes, right now I work in this company called Simply, and we are a voice over IP provider. So all your telephone stuff, we're the one that's taking care of it. And we also provide some other IT services also as well. So I'm looking right now, getting my start into the career, and just I'm passionate about what I do. I'm just looking forward to keep on doing it.
I love that. And I understand you also teach or volunteer teach classes for refugees as well. So why is it important to you to help refugees who are in the same position that you once were?
Yes, so coming into the country, we did face a lot of barriers, and what helped us out overcome those barriers was looking up to other refugees in our community that have been in the state for quite a long time. So those refugees that have been here were able to lead us, were able to actually get us to overcome those barriers and to find our comfort zone over here in Utah. And I want to do the same thing also as well. I want to be part of the team that lead the new coming refugees and show them a strong, welcoming, open hand that Utah is a welcoming place for refugee, and it is their home.
I love that. So my parents, when they came over here as refugees, they enrolled in these ESL classes that were taught by volunteers. And I told you a little bit during the break about how I was a volunteer ESL teacher, and it's just because I wanted to give back to the people who helped my parents when they came over here. Now, this week is World Refugee Week. What does that mean to you, or why is it important to you?
Yep, I think it's important that we highlight all the refugees over in this great state of Utah, because the refugees in this great state of Utah are contributing so much to the state, and I think it's very important that we highlight those refugees, and we also show them that Utah is a warm, welcoming place, and they are welcome here, and we need to show them that, and that's why it's really important that we have a World Refugee Day.
Well said. 30 seconds left. Final words. What do you want the community to know about refugees?
Yes, I want the community to know that refugees are hardworking people. They are people who have come from many walks of life. They are people who are overcoming some of the same struggles that you might even face in your life. And we're here. They're contributing, and they're trying to make this into a new home. Let's all show a welcoming hand to all the refugees that are coming into the great state of Utah.
And you are a prime example of that. You are a success story.
Thank
You've
you.
been hearing from Tennyson George, an IT professional and student in tech classes at the Utah Refugee Center. Tennyson, congratulations on all of your accomplishments, and thank you for being here tonight to share your story.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.
We have always been a nation of immigrants, and we will always be a nation of immigrants. And it's the blending of those stories that makes this American experiment so unique and so different.
That was Governor Spencer Cox yesterday at the naturalization ceremony held at the Utah State Capitol. He congratulated 14 people who completed all the requirements to become U.S. citizens, including being in the U.S. for at least 3 years, speaking basic English, and passing the civics test. Thanks for staying with us for our second In Focus discussion tonight on World Refugee Week. Joining our conversation next is someone who actually spoke at that ceremony yesterday, Naima Mohammed, who is a social worker at the Utah Refugee Services Office. And Naima, welcome to the show. We'd like to start with you and your family story. At your own comfort level, could you share what caused your family to flee from Somalia and what happened from there that finally brought you all to the United States?
Yes, my family fled the civil war from Somalia in 1990, and we were forced to seek refuge in Kenya, where we lived in the refugee camp in very terrible conditions. And after 15 years of living in the refugee camp, and after a long process to be recognized as refugees by the United Nations, my family was finally granted the opportunity to immigrate to the United States in 2005.
And I bet that was such a big relief after all that you and your family have gone through. Now, did your family face any challenges, difficulties, or barriers while trying to rebuild your life here in the U.S.? And if so, how did you and your family overcome that?
Yes, definitely. Just like anyone who will move to a new country, because of the environment, everything in Utah, including the spoken language, was unfamiliar to us. And simple things like transportation, we had to learn how to navigate that. But because of the resettlement agencies and also the receiving community in extending their hands, we were able to learn the language and also learning how to navigate community on our own after that.
I love that. What are some of the opportunities and achievements that you've had since coming to the U.S.?
So when we were in a refugee camp as a young child, I didn't have an opportunity to attend school. And when we first arrived in Utah, I was thrown into Salt Lake City East High School in a 10th grade for the first time to be in a formal educational setting. And I'm proud to say I was able to graduate from high school within 2 years and on a full ride scholarship, and I was admitted to University of Utah, where I completed my bachelor degree and also went on to grad school, and I obtained a master's degree in social work.
Wow, that is incredible. Okay, don't mess with Naima. Okay, she finished high school in 2 years and she has her master's in social work. That's incredible. Now, you became a naturalized citizen in March 2010, and you spoke about this during the ceremony yesterday. Can you share with us what was your journey to citizenship like, and what does it mean to you to be a U.S. citizen?
Yes, my journey to citizenship followed a specific path, but it wasn't unique. Just like any other immigrants that have to undergo and navigate this complex process, I too had to undergo that, but because of my the time that I was living in the US, I was already 5 years, so I kind of knew a little bit of English. That helped me, you know, to practice in like CD players, flashcards, and also we were 7 members in my family that had to save up for some money in order, you know, to complete the application process. And to me, being a U.S. citizen means that I have the right to vote, I have the right to practice my religion as I wish, I have the right to apply for federal employments that are requiring U.S. citizenship. And also one of the other privileges is that I get to travel the world with my U.S. passport, given that I have family members throughout the world because of the war in my country. We are all scattered all over. So that's an opportunity for me to get to reunite with my families across the globe.
That is so empowering to have that back, the ability to travel with that U.S. passport. Naima, what does World Refugee Week mean to you, or why is it important to you?
So to me, World Refugee Day means, you know, to celebrate resilience and courage. Even it's a reminder that even after many obstacles and challenges that we have undergone as refugees, we get to celebrate the resilience and also the courage in rebuilding our life successfully here in the U.S.
Now, Naima, in your introduction, we said that you are a social worker for the Utah Refugee Services Office. Could you tell us a little bit more about what you do and why you decided to pursue a career in this field?
Yes, I work as a social worker for the state of Utah in the Refugee Services Office. I do provide mental health support for refugees given their complex trauma, and also provide education to the communities in building awareness and also support and integration of the refugees in our communities. I chose this field because I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for people that helped me you know, to be where I am. So I wanted to give back to my community in helping refugees to integrate in the United States successfully as well and rebuilding their lives.
I love that. Naima, 30 seconds left. Final words. What do you want the community to know about refugees?
I want the community to know that refugees are humans, and extend your hand. They're not here to cause any harm. Extend your hand in building friendship, and also just make them feel home in their new home.
Well said. You've been hearing from Naima Mohammed, a social worker at the Utah Refugee Services Office. Naima, thank you so much for being here tonight. We enjoyed hearing about your incredible story.
Thank you so much for having me here today.
We'll be right back. Welcome to our third and final In Focus discussion tonight on World Refugee Week. Rounding out our conversation tonight is Asha Parekh, Director at the Utah Refugee Services Office. And Asha, we appreciate you being here. We'd like to start with some numbers. We know that Utah is home to more than 65,000 refugees from more than 20 different countries. Are you able to give us any other data or statistics about the refugees in Utah?
So I was going to just give you a global statistic.
That's fine.
That there are 26 million refugees according to the UNHCR in the world, and last year 10,000 of those came to the US, and less than 600 came, or less than a much smaller number came to Utah. So, you know, we are able to help very small numbers of refugees when we reach out and support families that need help.
Well, thank you for putting that in perspective for us. Asha, why are refugees important and a crucial part of our community? How do they contribute or make our community a better place?
So Rosie, I feel like I have the best job in the world because I get to work with refugees every day and see people who want to make a change in their lives, right? People who are rebuilding. They've experienced the worst there is to see in the world, and they're the ones that have survived all of that awfulness, and they come to Utah with the idea that they want to start over and build a new life here. And they're so open to new experiences. They're so willing to work hard and learn English, like you heard from the two refugees earlier, a very hard language to learn, and yet people really focus and do everything that they need to support themselves and their families to succeed in Utah. And then they all want to give back. They want to help other people that are coming to Utah to make sure they have a good experience. And there's also, I think, just the joy that we see often with refugee communities and families. For me, the personal gift I've kind of appreciated is just dance. We work with refugees from all over the world, and we often have dance events at the Refugee Center, and it's just such a joyful thing to participate in. So I just want to, I guess, invite all the folks that have never met a refugee or had the opportunity to participate in these kinds of events to really take advantage of the things that we are sharing on our website to celebrate World Refugee Day.
Let's talk a little bit more about the event. Tell us about what the purpose of this celebration is, and what are some of the events that are taking place this week?
So we are doing mostly virtual events this year, as we did last year as a result of COVID. We did have two, or we will have two in-person events. The first one was yesterday at the state capitol, where the governor spoke and the lieutenant governor was present, and 14 new citizens were celebrated. And then the last in-person event is this Friday at Cottonwood Park, and it's a taste of World Refugee Day, and it's from 6 to 9, and we think it's going to be just as fun as, it's like a mini World Refugee Day. There'll be a movie and some opportunity to purchase food from food vendors and some events for children, so activities for children.
So that's the good part, right? It's not completely online, although there are online components so that people can tune in and join from wherever they are, even if they can't attend in person. And then you have this great event on Friday if people do want to come out and see everybody and maybe get that face-to-face interaction. Asha, what's your final words to our viewers? What do you want to leave them with, or what do you want them to think about when they're thinking about this topic with our refugee communities?
I think just to consider the opportunity to help refugees have a better experience in Utah. I think what we see every day in the Refugee Services Office are people that want to give back to the community, people that want to have a better life in Utah, and it's such a great opportunity for us to support, to give a helping hand, not to be afraid of refugees, because really they want the same things that you do. They want to have a good life, they want to appreciate the great things, they want the kids to be successful and enjoy Utah.
Yeah, and one thing that I've learned is that many of the people that we interact with on a daily basis are probably refugees. Like, a lot of them own businesses, right? A lot of them like work and contribute to the economy. I'm so happy to hear about this event. I think it's awesome. And as you know, I'm a product of 2 refugees. They're my parents, and so this is a topic very near and dear to my heart. All right, you've been hearing from Asha Parekh, Director at the Utah Refugee Services Office. And Asha, thank you so much for joining us to talk about refugees in Utah and about World Refugee Week. It was a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.